This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome, everybody out there listening to KLEAN Radio. We're a show about addiction, recovery, everything in the middle. My co-host.
Are you the middle?
I am the middle,
yeah,
actually.
You're the middle.
Stuck in the middle. And we have actually have an amazing show tonight. We'll get to them in a second. But, you know, Andrew, it's a little like, you know, tomorrow is St. Patty's Day. And
it's been like St. Patty's Day for a week. Like everywhere I go, there's people dressed in green.
It's true. And we have to watch it on Facebook, all the drunken, sloppy poses. Yeah. So tonight is sort of
you don't have to watch that. You're choosing to watch that.
Oh, unless I block their feeds. But thank you. Okay. So... but one of the things is that, you know, we have in the show, we'll get to them in a second. We have a bunch of amazing comedians in tonight and all sober. And one of them is actually not a comedian. He's an amazing actor and a director and many other things. And his name is Gary Kohn. And we're going to get to them in a second. But one of the things one of the reasons we really wanted to start the show is to show people out there the fun that can be had in sobriety and the life there is afterwards. And I can't think of a better room full of guys in here tonight that are going to show that. And to the, you know, our fans out there, the people that are listening, you know, in New Jersey, in Maine, actually, there's a huge heroin epidemic going on.
It's all over the country.
It's all over the country. And I know, and Attorney General Holder calls it a crisis. It's like, welcome to the party.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for the
Thank
info.
you for noticing finally.
Thank you for the info that is. But I think one of the hardest things is we have family members out there, and because we live in L.A., we think everybody knows about this addiction thing. They think they know where to go. And you know, people in Maine, they don't have answers. You know, they don't know what to do. And that's the scary part.
Even professionals don't even know. I mean, it's amazing how many people that are highly qualified, and we were just talking about this in the green room earlier, that, you know, a lot of professionals that claim that, you know, they're psychologists or whatever, they have no idea about some of these issues related directly to addiction and certainly not to real clinical mental health. And, you know, that's what I really think we bring to the party, so...
Yeah, so welcome to our party,
welcome
pal.
to our party.
I've been wanting to say
Addiction
that since I saw that in Die Hard, like, welcome to the party, pal. I've been waiting to say that. So, Attorney General Holder, welcome to the party,
I'm glad I was able to give you that opportunity.
Thank you very much. And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio, so give us a call. The number is...
Really?
Yeah, you know, it happens every once in a while. Why don't you give the number, Andrew?
It's your job.
Okay, we'll give the number in a second. And let's welcome everybody to the studio tonight. We have Gary Kohn.
Hello.
Actor, director, entrepreneur. You're starting Laugh Fest.
Yes.
And sitting right next to him is one of the funniest comedians in America. And I could say that. You all have wiki pages, which is cool. So all three guests tonight are wiki proof.
I have a wiki page.
Wow, nice. Okay, for the sake of the show, let's say you do.
The trifecta.
We got
You're just going to create one real quick.
And yeah, that's right. I'll call it Jicky. And that made no sense. Anyways, it's hard. Comics are in here. Sam Tripoli.
Hello.
And Trips, otherwise known, and Cort McCown. Also, just an amazingly, you know, you're an actor too, but comedian. You've been appearing.
Yeah, I haven't done any acting in years. So it's just,
but you have acted.
I have acted.
Yeah. To people not in America, to people in Oregon or fans over there, that's a big thing, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And,
okay.
Some Duck fans.
Yeah, there we go.
And the number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222.
You couldn't remember that number?
It's
such an easy number.
He's only been doing it for like 4 years.
Yeah, why don't you write it on your hand?
Yeah.
I am in awe.
I'm going to get it tattooed on him. That's what we're going to do.
I'm in awe of the humor in the room. We're going to get it tattooed on me, right?
It's like Memento. You're just writing down what things you got to remember.
Can't remember anything.
And so
you run out of skin real fast. It'd be like.
So one of the cool things, we have a lot of people out there that are listening that their families are struggling. You know, whether it's people in Maine, and they don't always get to see the hope. And it's hard sometimes when you even go on national. You know, you watch the news, you don't see much hope. You go on Facebook, you see people posting crazy stuff, but you guys are living the life. You know, you guys are sober. Cort, you're sober.
Yeah. You
talk about it in your act.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sober. I've never been on stage when I wasn't sober. So I didn't. Actually, it's funny as you say acting. I basically smoked and snorted my way out of an acting career, you know, in the 80s.
But talk about that, because you were telling a story before the show about what happened in 1987.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, Sam and I were having a great conversation last night at the Comedy Store about humility, and I was saying I was never a humble person. You know, I thought I was everything. You know, I thought I was the coolest guy in the world.
Has anything changed?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, this is a clean show.
This is your life.
Yeah,
right?
if I really
Three
could say what I
comedians are
wanted
not
to
going to be nice to each other.
Yeah, but it was a difficult time, and I basically, I just got myself out. I basically was not a humble person, and had a problem, and then it took me a while to get it together, and once I got it together, that's when you talk about having fun after. It's like I finally did what I always wanted to do, which was stand up. I never had the guts to do it before.
And you're great, dude. Last night I got the luxury of following you last night, and you followed some very strong comedians, and you really knocked it out of the park. It was a lot of fun. I had to readjust my game a little bit.
Sam's the best.
When I had to follow you.
Sam's been a friend of mine since I first started doing Sam.
He was a friend till last night.
No, but Sam, it's funny. It's like, in comedy, especially out in the world, there's not a lot of people that help each other out.
Right.
And it's like, you don't go to an acting audition and everybody in the room's like, no, you should change that. This would help you. This will do this. That doesn't happen. In comedy, Sam was like the first guy that used to actually take me. Like, I never forget, we went down to San Diego. He goes, I'm doing this show in San Diego. Come down. You can do 20 minutes. I'm like, 20 minutes? I'd never heard of doing 20 minutes.
Seems like a lifetime, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he goes, come down and we'll go have tacos. We'll do this and we'll have this great time. And that was, and we've been friends. We've been good friends ever since then. And
something about tacos that makes good friends.
Brings people together.
It brings people together.
Really does.
It's the taco. It's all in the taco.
It's amazing. I think the Russians should get together.
We should just throw them tacos.
Yeah,
out of
everybody
McLean.
get tacos.
World peace. Throw tacos.
I think beans and rice brings a lot of people together.
That draws them apart.
No.
That's a different kind of bombing.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio, so give us a call. Thank you for putting the phone number in red light, in red marker over there. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with Cort McCown, Sam Tripoli, and Gary Kohn. And let's get to a call right away because I think Marie might need something. Marie, welcome to Clean Radio.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
How
Marie.
are you, Marie?
Welcome.
Hi. I had a question about, I'm a recovering pain pill addict. I just recently celebrated 18 months clean.
Wow.
And
Congrats.
thank you. And thank you to Clean Radio. When I get triggered sometimes and when I'm able to, I go to YouTube and look at old broadcasts of Clean Radio, and it kind of reminds me of where I'm at and where I should be focusing my energy on. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Clean
Welcome.
Radio.
Yeah.
But recently, I have chronic pain issues still from the injury that got me on the pills in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm able to usually deal with that on a day-to-day basis, and it's fine. But recently I suffered a back injury, and that really, really triggered me. I mean, last Friday I was going nuts. I had no intention to use, but the obsession was so strong. I was at work, and that's all I could think about. And I called my sponsor, I called my counselor in treatment, and when I was able to take little breaks at work and talk to them. But the obsession was just driving me nuts. And so I'm wondering if you have any advice for former opiate addicts that actually do have legitimate pain issues that, now you're in recovery, so you can't take pills anymore. But, I mean, what do you do with just the mental...
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the idea that you can't take pills anymore isn't true. So, you haven't really described what your back injury was, but hopefully you're under good medical supervision. That should be the first thing.
Okay.
So, and you should be talking with your doctor very clearly. Let your doctor know that you have a problem with addiction, but also let them know that you have pain. And there's always been this line between treatment of chronic pain and addiction, and how do we come up with drugs or ways or different strategies to solve that pain problem without inducing the whole addiction cycle again. So if you go to a doctor and they don't understand addiction, you should ask them, find a chronic pain person that understands addiction, and talk to them and share with them the problems that you're having. But first of all, you got to see a doctor and find out really what's going on, and don't just avoid the pain or suffer through it, because that's just going to trigger you eventually. So you're better to start working. There's, a whole bunch of different alternative therapies as well that you can work with. And a good doctor will suggest those as well, from acupuncture to massage to stretching and all sorts of other things. But I don't know your exact problem, so it's hard for me to give you good advice. But I'd go and find the right practitioner, basic practitioner to work with that also understands addiction and the addictive process.
But don't you think that's the biggest problem with I think going to doctors today? And you were even talking about it. We were talking about in the green room earlier. It's like doctors, they just want to give you pills. You got to find a doctor that understands.
Drug dealers.
You almost got to.
It's funny. I've had this conversation today with somebody else as well, and the thing is that is sort of what's happened. We have a culture where people feel if they go to the doctor and they don't get a prescription, they shouldn't have gone to the doctor. The doctor is a bad doctor. And doctors, for the most part, they're highly pressured to move you through in 15 minutes. And the best way to do that is write your script.
Yeah.
So, we've created a medical culture, unfortunately, where most of the physicians out there are really just trying to move patients through. So you really have to take your time and find the right people that work in this field and are willing to spend time with you as a patient.
And don't you think also as a patient, you got to be really open and honest to them and say, listen, I have an addiction to opiates.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't hide that. You can't hide that fact when you go into a doctor.
Even if you go to your regular doctor, like people that don't even have drinking problems, and they're like, it says how many drinks have you had, and people will lie. And I'm always like, what's the point of lying? The point is you're there to talk to your doctor.
Yeah, why do people lie? That's so interesting.
Well, I think people have this. Yeah, people have this shame or fear of actually having a problem. And if you say you drink more than 5 drinks a week, you're like, oh, that's the limit. You're like, I drank more than that last night. How dare I check that spot?
Let's get back to Marie for a second. Marie, do you have? Obviously, you're seeing somebody, a doctor. Maybe you should, like Andrew was saying, find a doctor, that you could trust. Find somebody that understands addiction and pain.
Yeah, there are physicians that specialize in chronic pain.
We've had on the show, actually.
There's therapists that specialize in chronic pain that will have a broader outlook and be able to spend more time with you than just a doctor. So what you want to do is find a doctor that also works in conjunction with a nurse practitioner or with a therapist that uses a variety of different techniques. Everybody, I always sort of talk about it, therapists and doctors, they have like a tool bag. And some have good tool bags, and some just have a bag with one tool in it, right? So you want to find
tools.
Some are just tools, right? So you want to find a doctor that's got a big tool bag with lots of resources and a lot of people they can refer you to. And if you're not getting relief from your pain and you're not getting solutions to at least mentally deal with it as well as physically deal with it, then you need to keep looking for somebody else.
And Marie, one of the biggest things that we talk about on the show, and I really want you to be okay with this, by the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio, but Marie, here's the thing. Sometimes in the 12-step world, it's not simple. And it could be very hard. You might need to take meds, and you have what I call metaphobes in the 12-step world. There are people that really need to be on meds but aren't. They're like homophobes. And you find people with a lot of different opinions.
And even with opiates, buprenorphine, which is used to take people off of opiates, like Suboxone, Subutex, drugs like that. Buprenorphine was originally developed for chronic pain patients. It's a low-acting opiate that basically blocks all the receptors, and so you don't feel as much pain, but you don't get as high. So small doses of buprenorphine have worked for people with chronic pain. There's a whole...
And he's not saying to use that. He's saying
I'm not saying use that, but I'm just saying that, there are people... There's drugs that are low-acting opiates that for people that have very severe chronic pain need to take. There's a percentage of the population that even if they have problems with addiction, they can't function without getting the proper medication and treatment.
Marie, what sort of back pain? What happened?
It was really stupid. I had just bent over to get something out of my backpack, and I felt something in my back slide out or pull, and it was really painful. That happened about, I don't know, like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, he meant originally. He meant the original.
Yeah, what's
the original?
Yeah, what's the original?
The original thing was a neck injury, a work injury, like let's see, now it's 8 years ago.
I read a really interesting book. I had a I did something to my lower back years ago. This is Gary, by the way. I had chronic lower back pain for probably 9 or 10 years. And I had a yoga instructor in New York recommend a book to me called Healing Back Pain. And it was a very, very interesting book, and it's written by John Sarno. And it's a very sort of different approach to back pain, but I sort of incorporated, what the book had recommended, none of which was medical. And within 4 days, because I'm a runner, and so
and he's not wearing shoes right now, so he's very yoga.
So I'm a barefoot.
He's
runner.
very spiritual.
But the running was sort of increasing my back pain, and so I read this book. I sort of took the advice of the book, implemented it, and within a week, my back pain went away almost entirely. It's a very interesting book, you know, and it's probably a little strange and outside the box when you read it. But for me, it worked great.
Give it a shot. But
yeah,
listen,
healing back pain.
Marie, we got to run. Well, you have an assignment this week.
Homework.
You do a homework.
We need a sound drop on that.
Read a freaky book and get Gary some shoes.
Donate to Sherry's.
Do some Googling.
The shoe collection fund here.
Do some Googling, Marie, and Google this stuff and look for help. Ask
We'll
people.
post it on our Facebook page too.
And we're gonna try to help you find somebody over there too that could help.
If you get really stuck, you know, just give us a call and we can help you out.
Okay.
Okay.
And
All
do us
right,
a favor.
thank you.
Next week, call in and let us know how you're doing.
Thanks,
Just
Marie.
check in.
All
Good
right,
luck,
thank you.
Marie.
That is the
Bye.
fine
Thank you.
line, right? It's just like taking medication to feel better and then medication to escape. And it's like, that is such a fine line. And then what she took to escape is the one thing that probably could help her with that one problem she has. That's so hard to deal with.
The relapse for people who have chronic pain and have to take them as prescribed is super, super high.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
it's
I'm
really.
sure.
I mean,
Super
it's.
high.
It's
I could
it's
imagine if
insane.
cocaine
Back and get
fixed your
strung out
back.
again.
That would be in such trouble.
Really?
Just do a rail. Feel better about yourself.
I had foot surgery done once, and I had about a 4-inch square cut out of the bottom of my foot.
Right.
And my friend was the podiatrist, and I had only been sober about 2 years. And he goes, "How many Vicodin do you want?" And I was like, 1,000. There you go. 1,000.
How many are there?
I want your pad.
Yeah, and
truck?
I couldn't, but I didn't take it, and I was like so happy because I said to him, I go, "By the way, you know I'm sober." He goes, "Oh, I didn't know that." He goes, "I thought you were still a drug addict." And I was like, "Damn it! Why did I say that?"
And if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio, so give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. 5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with Cort McCown, Sam Tripoli, and Gary Kohn. Gary, you were in an amazing movie called Wish You Were Here. I really loved that movie.
Thank you very much.
It was very
Appreciate it.
good. And Sam and Cort are some of the funniest comedians in America, but they also happen to be sober comedians. And you were talking before, both of you, and it is an amazing thing to get up on stage sober. You know, it's how great of a feeling must
I
that
found
be?
that getting sober doing stand-up really helped getting sober in a weird way because it really forces you
'Cause it's
to
so
deal with
humiliating.
your sobriety on stage. I mean, it's so much quicker. You know, it's like I remember the first time I wrote a really great joke sober. Like, what a breakthrough that was. Like, how freeing that was. Because this whole notion that you got to be loaded to be creative, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. You just had to be creative when you were loaded, and people always make the assumption. But I remember writing a joke the first time I got sober, and man, what a freeing feeling that was. And how much better you are as an entertainer when you are sober. As much as people like to talk about those train wreck moments on stage with some of your great entertainers, you know, Johnny Cash and all them, but when I'm on stage and I'm sober, it's completely a different show. Whereas when I'm on stage, when I was using, and I'm just trying to get through it.
Right.
Not to tank the show, not to
being
embarrass
present,
myself.
right? You're present, you know.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference.
Well, you have to be when you do stand up. There's nobody else up there. There's nobody you can
There's no
turn.
backup keyboards.
Yeah, there's no guy there's no drum solo that's
Give me
coming
through
out.
this, Jack.
Yeah,
Wait, there is the heckling, of course. Why don't we take another call? We got another call lined
Yeah,
up.
let's. If you just tuned in, Clean Radio, let's go to Heather. Heather, what's
It's
cooking?
ladies' night here.
It is ladies' night. Heather, how you doing in Vermont?
I'm doing well. I don't know.
You
Depends
should be
on what I am.
laughing because we have a lot of funny people.
Yeah. Well, I had a question for Andrew about triggers and cues because I heard something the other day and I didn't know if it was actually accurate. So since he seems to be more of the expert,
Sure.
I
Way
was
more.
doing a training and we were talking about learning and development and conditioned responses and respondent stimulus and things of that nature.
Sure.
And one of the things that they were talking about is, in the past you've talked about if somebody has been using drugs or drinking alcohol and they stop for a while, but then they use the same amount of alcohol or drugs, then that's how people die.
A lot of people tend to overdose it, mostly with heroin and alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that that they talked about at the training that I went to is that, sometimes just the different environments that you're in can cause physiological and neurological changes.
That's correct. There's actually been a lot of studies done, and simple things like with crack addiction. If you just put a crack pipe in front of someone, they'll actually have the whole physiological response as if they've smoked it.
You mean a crack addict?
Yeah,
not
crack
just
addict.
anybody,
Yeah.
Not just
so
anyone.
yeah, so it's and also if you look,
I just get
starts
constipated when I see it. So
Start selling the television for $20.
but also if you look at most people that use drugs or drink or whatever, they don't normally have some sort of ritual, and the more they do it, the more isolated they get, and the more the rituals become more complex, and they have sort of the similar behaviors or the beginning to isolate or doing the same things that you would do before you get loaded. Those all tend to trigger people. And sometimes it can be as simple as just driving down the road and you see the same liquor store that you used to always buy liquor from, and that can set you off. So your subconscious is actually acting on you all the time, and people don't really recognize that. Everybody's heard of the subconscious, but they don't really believe it's there. Or they think, I got it under control. But there's a lot of stuff that happens that you don't know why it's happening, and that can set you up for behaviors. And that's what triggering is about, is trying to figure out consciously how to predict what your subconscious might make you do without you wanting to do it, and just being extra aware that you might have these triggering mechanisms in you that could put you in a position where you might use.
Yeah, because when I heard that, I'm like, oh, now I understand it.
Right.
Because in the storm, we had in Vermont, we had lots of snow. I was actually at I was at a hotel that I was staying at for 3 nights, and a lot of my
stay with you?
isms. What?
Anybody stay with you?
No.
Was that an offer, Judah?
Judas back
Clean
on
radio. Judas
Pervy
back on the
radio.
market. Judas back on the market, by the way. So
No.
The heavy breathing is Judah.
Yeah, but I was with myself. But a lot of my isms were coming out.
800-222-5222.
I didn't actually, but I'm like, but when I heard that, I'm like, oh, now I understand it.
It clicked.
Because one of my things is like I binge drank, and I would go to hotels to binge drink, and I actually told a sponsor when I was newly sober, if I ever going to have a relapse, I'd go to a hotel and I would binge drink in a hotel.
yeah, because that's where you feel comfortable drinking, and there's nothing else to do in a hotel room generally. So
Crushing the mini bar, you're just crushing little bottles of booze.
So
That'd actually be a really interesting study, by the way, if people were really honest, to see how many people in a hotel at a given time are there binge drinking.
it's probably a fair amount.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid of how expensive it is. I don't even touch it.
I mean,
people do
Vegas
bring their
is
own booze in.
ridiculous.
You can
just
buy a
walk down the
bottle
hallway and look
check
what's in the
into a
hallway.
hotel.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
Sandy, you don't just
but
have
it was
to.
just like I was triggered left and right, and then I came back home and I went to a sober St. Patty's Day dance, and I was good
Must
until
have
I
been a lot of
wasn't.
fun.
See, what's
Then I had a
good
slow-
is
I had
it
a slow dance.
what's good, Heather, is once you realize what triggers you, you can start taking preventative action, even if you have to be in a triggering environment. So, for example, if a hotel is a place that triggers you, you can know to ask them to empty the mini bar before you go. You can also, which they'll readily do. They do it.
I was actually a friend of mine recently did that. He
Yeah.
said, "Can you empty the whole?"
Another thing you can do
Or you
is,
could just
is
camp.
bring drinks.
And when they don't, you get a free room, just so you know.
and you can also make sure you bring drinks with you and be drinking something already. So that just the physical act of drinking, you've already got a drink in your hand, and you'd be surprised how well that works. Even parties, if you go to a party and people are going to ask you to have a drink a lot, go there with a drink in your hand that's non-alcoholic,
Club soda, whatever,
yeah,
Red
and
Bull.
just be drinking it. Get a big jug, and you'd be surprised it takes a lot of the peer pressure out of it, and it keeps you occupied with that oral fixation of drinking without having to get into the whole alcohol thing.
And Heather, I just want to say, because we got to run, but I just want to tell you something. It's very cool that you're calling in and talking about this stuff, because a lot of people sometimes get these things and they're embarrassed to share about it. They're embarrassed to say, I went to a hotel and I had these thoughts. And what happens sometimes with those people is they end up doing something stupid. And you're coming out and you're saying, you have, I think, 16 years sober, 15 and a half years sober, and you're saying that. And that helps a lot of people. It takes a lot of courage at a certain point to say, you know what? Hotel rooms still freak me out, because it does. Hotel rooms when you're by yourself are the loneliest place in the world.
Some of my shadiest moments are in hotels.
Because you have the channels that nothing ever is good on, and
my hotels don't have hotel bars either.
Yeah, well, we have the luminol test later. We're going to go find out what hotels you were in and see what you actually did.
Please, that test has ruined my OCD with hotels for years. Heather, we got to run, but thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
For me, contrary action's a really big thing. Not putting myself in the place where I know where triggers can happen.
We got to take a break. We'll be back in a second. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Cort McCown, Sam Tripoli, Gary Kohn, of course, Andrew Spanswick, and me. The discussion continues when I hear some music, and I know it's time to go to a break.
You could give out the phone number again. What is it?
We'll be right back.
222-5222.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits. Now back to Andrew Spanswick and Judah Friedman.
Welcome back to Clean Radio. We have a funny show, funny. And Cort, tell us a joke.
Oh, if you want to hear a joke, call. If you want to hear a joke, call 800-222-5222.
No other occupation does that happen.
Yeah.
Oh no, physicians get it all the time.
Really?
Like, here, look at this. Like, you know, like,
worst is-
it's like really should go to the hospital. Your
Physicians
fingers
and
falling off.
comics.
The worst is I play a lot of golf, and every time you're out there, they're just like, so what do you do? And I used to say I was a comedian,
Right.
and they go, oh, let's hear a joke. Now they go, what do you do? I go, I'm a construction worker.
I always say I own
Do they ask you to build something?
I always say
after
I
you
own
that?
tropical fish stores, and people look at me like, really? And I go, yeah, like you wouldn't believe how much they're going up in price.
I used to say underwater welder.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Because like nobody knew anything about that.
Right.
And then one night this girl goes, that's what my brother does.
Oh, no.
And I was like, okay, we got to go now.
That's like that Seinfeld when he told her he was a marine biologist, but and a dead whale at the end. Anyways, but you're listening to Clean Radio. That's Cort McCown. That's Sam Tripoli. That's Gary Kohn. Sam, you're going to be in one of our markets this week, which is Portland and Seattle.
Going to be in Portland on Tuesday at the Fun House. It's going to be a really great show. And then the next night, Wednesday, I'm in Seattle at the Highline Bar. So I'm very excited about doing it.
Go see Sam Tripoli.
Yeah, see him.
He is a world famous crime fighter that nobody really knows about.
I really hope people come out because it's a great live show. Like,
you are one of my favorites because we've known each other forever.
Yeah.
And Sam brings this. You used to call yourself the ultimate crime fighter.
Yeah, I like chaos.
Yeah.
I've heard you call yourself the monster.
Yeah, I have a lot of nicknames.
It's a lot of energy.
Region of the
Though. It's a
country.
fun show.
Yeah.
It's not a guy that stands there and goes, "So, did you ever notice?" You know, Sam comes out and just blows you
I
up.
like playing rock clubs because short of murdering somebody or burning the place down, they love a show.
So this is what I want to say to people, because some people, like we just had Heather calling in, and to some people, going to a comedy club, going to a bar might be a triggering event. You know, you're newly sober, so I always suggested somebody out there, you know, our
Come
fans
with
in
friends.
Portland, you know, come with friends, but go to see you're performing solo.
Yep.
And you'll know that you have a sober comic, and you know.
There's some people opening. One of my favorite shows to do is Yuckaholics.
Yes.
They have out here, and that's really great because it's like people who are brand new to sobriety, and they get to laugh for the first time. And again, it's like it's such a huge thing when you realize that you could do pretty much everything you want to do sober. That you don't really need drugs and alcohol to have a good time. And it's, you know.
I actually think going to comedy clubs, you know, drunk is a lot worse than going sober. I think going sober to a comedy club is actually a lot more fun because you actually understand what
attention.
you actually pay attention.
You don't get booed
what's
off
yeah, you
out
don't
of place.
Yeah.
It's way less expensive.
It's way less expensive. I mean, you know, most places have a 2-drink minimum. Get 2 bottles of water. It costs you $6 or whatever. And you have a great time. You laugh. You know, and if you're a sober guy, it's the best place to take a date because we do all the work for you. You have to do no work whatsoever.
And all the guys are kind of ugly, so.
Yeah.
Whoa, hey, this guy's good looking.
Yeah,
Look at that skin.
We got one good look at.
Yeah, Cort's exceptionally handsome.
Comedy is great. Stand-up is great to bring a girlfriend a new date to because you get to find out what her sense of humor is.
Exactly.
And like if she's like, that's offensive, kick her to the streets. But she's laughing at some weird, sick stuff. That's a keeper. I mean,
That's a keeper.
So our fans in Portland,
You know it's going to be a good night.
so our fans in
And
Portland and
Sam,
Seattle.
you're single, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I have a girlfriend. I have a girlfriend. I have a girlfriend.
Sam has a long-term girlfriend.
I have a long-term
Long-term girlfriend. But if you're in Portland and Seattle and you're newly dating, go to Sam's show and find out if she's the one.
Yeah, the tickets are $15, but if you go to bogartla.com and click my show in the events, you use the code BOGARTLA, you can get $5 off tickets, so it's only $10.
It's a $20 date, and you
Yeah.
can find out.
It'd be
for
bad if you
$20.
went on a date though, and then like she breaks up with you because she's like you didn't laugh at the right spots and you suck.
Right.
Well, it's a good way to find out.
It's a good way to find out
We're not
early.
just
Right?
talking to the guys. We're
Save
talking to the
yourself some
girls.
money, I guess.
But
yeah.
also, I want to get to Gary. Gary, you directed, you've directed, you've acted in a lot of stuff. Your IMDb page has a lot of credits, and
Do you update that yourself?
Just adds movies randomly.
And now
Whatever's
you're
coming out
starting
next
this
week.
thing called Laugh Fest. You've started this thing called Laugh Fest. You and Cort.
With Cort, yeah.
And it's basically an online community for comics.
Yeah, this is the Laugh Fest is the first division. I mean, we're doing, we'll do music and film and art and literature and gaming but Laugh Fest is the first one that we launched, and it's really just sort of having been an independent filmmaker for years, and just seeing how difficult it is for the 99% that isn't making all of the money to do, to survive, is why we started this. And Laugh Fest is it's for the 99% of the community that isn't making all of the money, and it's sort of a promotional hub and
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, what we're doing is every month, what we people go on the site, comics come up. It's free, by the way. That's always the thing people always ask. It's free. It costs the comic absolutely nothing, and it costs the consumer or costs the viewer absolutely nothing to view the videos. And comics go up. They put their video up. And every month, whoever has the most views, whichever comic has the most views, we give them $1,000. So it's
What?
Yeah. and it's a big deal because the idea behind it is that there's a lot of guys out there that don't, that aren't touring like Sam. Sam's been, they're starting out that have 4 years or 5 years. And it's tough to get time at these comedy clubs.
Yeah,
we're lucky. We're very fortunate guys. But there's a lot of people that aren't passed at the Comedy Store or the Laugh Factory or Improv or some of the clubs in town. So this is an opportunity for them to get their face out there, and then not only do they build fans, but the other people that are viewing the other videos are also getting a shot at looking at them. So everybody's building on it, and then as a community, you can go on for free and see a lot of people. They're short videos. It's not 20 minutes long. You go on, you view the video, and if it's somebody you don't like, you say you stink.
It's like the Tinder of comedy.
No.
Give it a shot. I'm new to the dating world.
Yeah.
Don't
Are you killing it on Tinder, Judah?
I'm not on Tinder.
You had a liar.
And if you but Cort, here's the thing I love about what you're doing. It's sort of like in the 12-step world. You help out the next sober
give
guy.
it back,
You're
yeah.
giving it back to the next comedian. You're doing 12-step work in a sense with comedians, trying to help them along the path.
Absolutely. The whole idea behind all of this is, it's not just it's everybody that does it out there. It's from the comic to the person who's viewing it. It doesn't cost you anything to go out there and open yourself up and have a laugh, have a look, say something nice, whatever. Just be part of just wake up and be part of life. It's like if instead of looking at your Facebook page for the 50th time to see what kind of update you've gotten or see another selfie on
I'm
Instagram.
addicted.
Yeah, to see some girl in her bikini taking another picture of herself in the mirror. Go on Laugh Fest. Watch something funny. Have a good laugh. Enjoy yourself.
So I got to ask everybody a question because I'm new to this. I don't really know I know what a selfie is, obviously. So you take a picture of yourself. But how could I possibly see people taking a picture of themselves, but I still see the camera in their hand?
Because they do it
In the
against the mirror.
Oh,
Really, Judah? You really didn't figure that one out?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And you just tuned in. You're listening to KLEAN Radio. So give us a call.
Now we know why people ask me for advice.
The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with Cort McCown, Sam Tripoli, Gary Kohn.
So narcissistic.
That takes a lot of commitment to selfies if it's looking in the mirror. I mean, that's even
these
narcissism
selfies,
square.
It's gotten out of hand. It has gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
There are just
It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
and there's just people who are just famous for taking selfies. They get like followers, like. On
There was that one
Facebook,
cool
they'll
guy I saw though that he would get people to take pictures of him like in front of or behind people making out. And so it's like this whole series of like people making out, and he's like standing there with this like dead look on his face, and there's hundreds of pictures of him. It's really funny.
I have this thing called famous people won't stop begging me to take pictures with them.
I love that.
And whenever I find a famous person, I'll take a picture of them, but I look like I'm miserable, like they're wasting my time. But they don't know I'm acting miserable. They're like, hey, and I'm like, oh, God.
But getting back to that, I think we're talking about stuff, and you're talking about being in the moment. I think one of the cool things about what you guys do, with whether it's acting, directing, and comedy, is it's something you have to be present for, and it's something that if you go to your shows, it helps to be sober because you're being present. You get to enjoy it.
Yes.
And there's something we were talking about before about alcohol. Not being as creative. You think you're creative, because you happen to be drunk when you made it. But there's something to be said about the notion of it's so romantic, I think, to do these things sober. There's nothing more romantic than living a conscious life, and in a sense, you're all doing that. You're all present with what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, again, it's just like everything I've ever wanted to do on drugs or on alcohol, I do sober, and I have just as much fun doing it. I think that's a big part of being a sober person, is knowing that you can live your life as long as it's not something that's destructive. You can do everything you want to do sober, and you can be in the moment. It's amazing how you can do that, then the next day wake up early and go do something else fun and not have to be dragging all day or living kind of this guilt and misery because, you really went off the deep end the night before. And that for me is big. To be able to be wild and fun and crazy like I was when I was out partying, but do it sober and without the destruction in my life has helped me immensely.
And I mean, Cort, I see you guys. I see you guys around, Gary and Cort. I've seen you guys around for years. And the reason I want to talk about this so much is because with St. Patty's Day coming out tomorrow, or as Andrew said, it's been a St. Patty's week. Next year it'll be St. Patty's month. Sobriety in a sense it has to be contagious. It's contagious. And I see you guys. When I first moved out to LA, and Gary, were so kind. I saw you guys living life. And even as somebody that was sober at the time, it's contagious watching that. And, you're going to see Facebook tomorrow. You're going to see all these posts of people drinking. And you're going to see people out there that go, wow, I want to do that. That looks fun. But what they don't realize, what you guys are doing is the real buzz.
I have to say, life did not get boring after I got sober. I've been sober a really long time, and I've had
more than half your life, right?
Yeah, I've had an extremely exciting
probably
life.
About half his life.
I mean, it's far from boring. I've lived an extraordinary life. I've seen the world. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of service. It's been really pretty
fantastic. Can I just ask this? Like, what percentage of people are actually Irish in this country anyway? So this whole St. Patty's thing is not about. I mean, if Cinco de Mayo,
America's 40% German, so right
exactly.
there.
So what is there, like 3% of Irish people in this country?
Something like that. It's not very high.
And thousands of people are like at Rock and Riley's.
There's only 4.6 million people in Ireland.
Yeah. So what's this big thing with St. Patty? It's just like, come on, let's just have an Easter egg.
Excuse to drink. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
excuse to drink.
And dress up and be crazy and
drink green beer.
Yeah, and say the reason you did whatever you did was because you were
drinking.
Yeah. Oh, and everybody becomes Irish. Tomorrow, everyone will be Irish. There's a little bit of Irish in them tomorrow.
Yeah.
I actually have a little bit of Irish in me.
Yeah.
There we go.
I actually
What's
do.
this? Never mind.
I was going to also say something. And this is KLEAN Radio.
It's KLEAN Radio, right?
And the number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. I was bragging about one of our favorite callers tonight, but he hasn't called in yet. So Todd hasn't called in yet. You got 14 minutes.
Todd?
Yeah, Todd.
Call in.
Yeah, because Todd's special to us in many ways. But one of the things I just wanted to talk about, because we were talking about in the opening of the show, this thing going on in Maine, this obviously, it's always a different epidemic, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
You got heroin running wild over there. Parents are scared. Attorney General's calling it a crisis. Sam,
you're talking about sobriety in other places other than Los Angeles, man. I've been blessed. I do the road a lot, and I always love to check out like what sobriety is like in those kind of cities. And man, it's a blessing in LA, but I have a real love for people when I go to, these other cities and check out their AAs or their 12-step program, because sometimes it's not a lot of people. Sometimes there's like a meeting every day and it's the same 5 people going to that meeting, but like the bravery to do that, because like I'm from a small town, Portland, New York, in upstate New York, small town, 15,000 people. If you take out drinking out of that, it's not easy. There's not a lot to do.
You're from Cortland?
Cortland.
I grew up in Ithaca.
Oh, yeah. Buttermilk Falls, all that
It's
stuff.
like half an hour away.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, that is a huge part of that whole thing. But when you go to these meetings, you see these people have kind of formed their own little community.
Cortland's a pretty redneck town for you.
I never realized how redneck it was until I left.
They have
back
like
my high school pictures.
it's trucks and cows in Cortland.
I mullet. It wasn't even good. It just fluffed out.
It
Cortland
must have been weird for you being an Armenian mullet wearer.
Right? The only thing in Cortland I've ever seen interesting was they had a pink conversion van there that I saw once. That was it. That's all I saw.
That's all you know about Cortland?
That was Sam's family's van.
Yeah. But I just grew up thinking I was white. It was very weird. And then I moved to LA and I find out I'm not very quickly.
Did they ask you if you wanted to live in Glendale when you first moved here?
They're like, oh, yeah.
To the people that listening that don't know where Glendale is, but it's a very
people don't know where
Armenian.
Armenians are either.
Yeah,
So.
there's many people.
It's like LA. It's like this LA thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Koreatown, but for Armenians.
And so, and I think it is important that we talk about this stuff because, like we have, we've had callers calling about called in about his 24-year-old daughter that he doesn't know what to do. She's using heroin, she's dying, and and we've seen people that you would never think get sober and live insanely good lives. And it does happen, and there is hope. And everybody in the studio tonight, to me, is everybody, including our, I don't want to break her anonymity, but I did if you're watching the show. Everybody we're proof that this sobriety thing can happen and can work. However it is you got sober.
But I also think too that what you're talking about, that epidemic, really proves the point of the word addiction and a disease and about that thing, because. Where in the world do you not understand, if you can even read, that heroin kills you?
Yeah.
That I don't know anybody. Anybody who is a long-term heroin addict. They're
there
dead.
Are some, but there's very few.
I mean that's like winning the lottery. I mean, not the same thing, but kind of. But I just don't
Bizarro
know. Yeah, exactly. But I just don't understand how if you're out there and you don't think heroin kills you.
Well, a lot of the problems we're seeing now, one of the major reasons we're having a heroin epidemic right now is not because anything's really changed, other than that Suboxone and oxycodone, they changed the formula so you can't crush them and shoot them anymore.
Oh.
So that, and they became too expensive to just take orally. If you build tolerance, you need too much money to buy them. So heroin's cheap, easy, you can smoke it, you can shoot it. And so people that were already addicted to opiates and pills and pharmaceutical pills have now switched to heroin. And the drug dealers and gangs and cartels have moved in on that market. They shut down the pill mills in Florida that were producing tons of oxycodone.
Oh, yeah.
So we were flooded with prescription opiates, and all of a sudden they dried up, and now people have had to go to heroin. So.
And again, I understand what you're saying. It's one of those things, though. It could never be more clear to you. I mean, it's like you might be under the
drunk driving is the same thing. Nobody thinks about that. For years, nobody thought about that. But drinking and driving, that's very easy way to do it.
But I think the point I'm making is that when you're taking a prescription pills like oxycodone and you're taking these things, you're not thinking about it in the sense that it is, it is bad. It's bad. But
it's prescribed.
But it's prescribed.
It's regulated. You know what it is.
Now all of a sudden it's like I've got to snort or shoot heroin to get that same high. Maybe you should wake up and realize that what you have is a serious problem.
That was the one time I smoked crack. I'm like, okay, this is crack. I'm done. I'm out. Goodbye.
Yeah.
This is crack.
But I think you get to that point where it's like you realize that now you're using something that it kills.
Yeah,
It
well, that's
basically
bottoming
kills
out
you,
for some
you
people.
know?
Some people bottom out that, and like they hit a drug that for them is just so taboo that they can't believe they did it.
Right, and I think if you're doing heroin, welcome to the world of taboo.
Yeah,
If
Right, but
you're doing
the
that.
taboo court has changed.
It's changed. There's a whole new outlook on these drugs.
It's very scary, and I don't know where it's coming from. I don't want to blame everything on. Everything is easy to blame, social media. But there's a certain thing. It used to be. Come on, we were growing up in high school. You know, this goes to all of us. There were always the 3 bad kids in school. We might have been one of them. But there was 3 or 4. But there were 3 or 4 kids that everybody would go, "Don't go next to so and so. He's smoking weed." Yeah. Now it's whole high school classes. You know, a couple years ago, everybody knows about pregnancy, high school pregnancy. There was a whole class of girls that signed a pact to get pregnant. You know, and we look at it going.
I get to go to this school? Why am I so old?
Hey, at least you're not looking for it right now.
It's called Cortland High School.
It's Cortland High School. Yeah, right.
But it goes with the
Sam's
thing.
got 4 kids already.
Can you imagine 4 little Sams running around?
Oh man,
The world would be such a better place.
they'd have to get like caution tape and put it everywhere.
But I don't, Cort,
There would be a rush on buying
to be honest with you,
capes.
Cort,
True.
I just think there's so many things out there that you could say that for. You're like, you're doing this. You know what this entails. And I just don't think they, you know, even though my story crack is true, but the rest of the stuff is like, I just don't think that stops people. There's so many
but
things
also a
that
lot
you
of
can
people,
do.
by the time you get to the point where you're shooting heroin, you're semi-suicidal. There's
Yeah.
something going on there. You're majorly depressed. You're already an addict generally. I mean, if people don't just go like straight to shooting heroin.
I mean, if it was that,
you know-
if it was that simple, 12-step programs just wouldn't exist.
You know, it's interesting because I used to run around. When I was still out there, I ran around with a group, a large group of people, you know, that had very well-off parents, and we were all habitual cocaine users. We were all cocaine addicts, basically.
Right.
And there was a small group of that kind of cornered off and started using heroin. And of those people, only like 2 or 3 are still alive.
Yeah.
You know, most of the people died, and it's like, and I just.
So you didn't think cocaine was a problem?
Oh, I knew cocaine.
Right.
The
So-
third heart attack was a real waker
Right.
up there.
How many did you have?
I had 3.
3 heart
Yeah,
attacks?
one small one, one kind of medium one, one really bad.
So it makes us feel better. The best looking guy in the studio, aside from Gary, of course, had 3 heart attacks.
All right, we're eliminating half the people here. At some point, you're just going to say I'm ugly.
slowly we're getting around to it. It's an intervention here. We're lining up. We're asking for donations for plastic surgery as we talk.
I could use some.
Dude, you were born in Cortland. You're lucky. You were like the top 1% in looks in Cortland.
Without a doubt.
You ever see that movie Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael? She goes home just to feel famous. You go home just to feel good looking.
Right? He goes from Cortland to LA. What's he thinking? Like, you know?
Sam, and to people just tuning in, you'll see KLEAN Radio. We're actually having a lot of fun tonight. And, you know, part of being sober, Corey, I love that you talk about this in your act, which I didn't know you talk about sobriety.
Yeah, I do. I talk about it because it's interesting that people. I always say, like, you know, I just want to put it out there. I just got, you know, I have over 12 years, and I say, you know, 12 years. So, and you always hear somebody say "boo." Someone will boo, and I always, and I love that, and I love that person because that person.
That's the person that needs to get sober.
That person is like, at least they're honest, you know.
Yeah,
At least
right.
they're honest, like boo, you know. And then I just wait till the bill comes, till their bill comes, and I'm like boo, because you have a $300 bill. But I talk about it, but it is that thing where I say, you know, it's like I don't miss it, and I tell people I don't miss the booze, I don't miss the coke. And it is weird, though, is sometimes I do, because of the, you know, prevalence of marijuana, especially in California.
Yeah.
It looks so glamorous. I say that, you know, it's like these people go in stores and they buy, you know, they go in, it looks like a wine tasting. And I said, you know, I used to have to meet a guy named Julio in a Jack in the Box parking lot.
And pray it was good.
Yeah, at 11:30 at night, I'm sitting there paranoid. He rides up on a stolen bicycle, right? Pulls a sweaty bag out of his ass crack and drops it in the window.
I always
It's
got
not the same
delivery,
thing.
man. I don't know.
But you raise a good point, because even in that we've taken out
What,
the
stolen bicycles?
we've taken out the the chase, and I don't know if this is going to help or harm addiction. You know,
I think it's gonna hurt it.
Andrew was talking before about the rituals. You know, all of a sudden, meeting Julio was part of your ritual.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
That was the scary ritual. But
Would you meet him down by the schoolyard?
The thing is, we've actually seen studies where places where you have full legalization of drugs, drug addiction actually drops, because you also get more of a public health awareness where the treatment advocates are able to actually offer treatment to people that are addicted. So there's, the whole
regulated,
thing. Yeah, well, we're the problem in America is we're not transitioning properly. We're just going from, illegal to legal, and we went from hysterical illegal, especially with marijuana, where it was Schedule 1 and it was more about the war in Vietnam and Nixon trying to control the population, to now it's going to be medical marijuana, now fully recreational legal. But I've always said anybody that wanted to smoke pot could smoke pot. It wasn't. It's not like it was hard to get.
I remember when the ecstasy went from legal to illegal. I was
that was in 80, 84, 82, something like that. I remember you could buy it in.
It was 82.
82. You used to be able to buy it in the pharmacy.
You remember Quaaludes probably.
Oh yeah, such an interesting I remember Placidils. Those were my favorites.
Placidils.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to KLEAN Radio.
Yeah, right. This is not like memories of our favorite drugs that are no longer made.
In the middle. But the point is, Cort is.
But I do remember when ecstasy went from legal to illegal.
Yeah.
That it became it was
nobody did it really that much. It was kind of.
It was like, and then when it became illegal,
it took off.
It took off.
Yeah.
It became this whole thing. So I don't know what,
because it became taboo. Just like heroin and all these people doing it, and God bless them. I pray for their families and for everybody out there right now.
But also,
suffering.
Pure MDMA, which is what it was then. Yeah. And by the way, Molly is not pure MDMA for everybody out there that thinks they're
not
really doing
close.
right. So it's really a whole different experience than what most people are thinking when they take ecstasy. I mean, ecstasy now is mostly some amalgamation of a bunch of different drugs.
Unless you have this really thin white wafer from like 1980.
Yeah, right.
You're
taking the wrong thing.
And on that note, that was
Super
Drug
glue
Talk
and speed.
with Cort McCown and Andrew Spanswick. We got
the old man.
The creepy old
We got to run. Sam, why don't you tell Sam Tripoli, why don't you tell everybody where you are this week?
I'm going to be in Portland. I'm going to be at the Funny House on the 18th, and then I'm going to be in Seattle at the Highline Bar on the 19th, and then I'm in Victoria, British Columbia at Heckler's is the name of the club
right.
for the whole weekend.
And then he's going to Cortland.
And so our Portland fans, please go. If our Portland and Seattle fans, our Washington fans, please go to support Sam. And if you're newly sober, you're sober, you have a sober comic on stage to make you feel a little better. You guys, Cort McCown, Gary Kohn, you have an event coming up next Sunday night?
Yeah, we have Laugh Fest.
7:30, so it doesn't interfere with KLEAN Radio.
Yeah, after you listen to KLEAN Radio, go to the Hollywood Improv at 7:30 p.m. And it's a great show. It's called Laugh Fest. And if you need any more information, go to my website, CortMcCown.com, or at Cort McCown,
and then
LaughFest.com.
Yeah, and then LaughFest.com, LAFFEST.com.
And there's Gary Kohn, Sam Tripoli, Cort McCown, Andrew.
Yeah, good night, everybody. Thanks for listening.
And I want to thank all our fans out there, everybody on Facebook, everybody that put the show on, Patrick, everybody. The discussion continues at KLEANRadio.com.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits.